this is a calculated Sprague multiplier results. So now you can check your answers with the answers given in here. Then yes, you can see this is a single year age distribution from 0 to 9. It's available in here. I will change the color to understand for you. Yeah, this light green column. These are the values. If you have calculated single year age distributions, you can check your answers with this. And other thing, you can, if you have any different answer, you can check your calculations with these things. And these are the all calculated values. And finally, to cross check whether your calculated single year age distributions are correct or not, you can adapt these all. And finally, you should have the previous value. I mean, the summation you used to make these separations. Yeah, exactly. That's correct. It is 1871. So that's the value in here. Okay, now you can check your answers. Then I think you have completed these calculations. According to my memory, I taught you to do that. And then you need to make calculations for this age group. That's today activity. Then if you have any questions regarding with the first two calculations, I mean for the first two part in the Sprague multiplier table, you can ask. Otherwise, we can move to the last two calculations. This is the way of getting calculations for the first two age groups. We use only these two in the Sprague multiplier. In the yellow color space, you can see the values you have in your handout for the Sprague multiplier. So last two cells, last column is 0 value, so I didn't include those things in here. Then in the last two places also the first column values are 0, so I didn't include those in this Excel sheet. Then if you haven't any problem with first two calculations, we can move for the last two one. Then I have already made those calculations, but anyway, first you need to try. Then how do you take values for these two? We are using only last two phrases in our Sprague multiplier. Then you can see there are 5 set of values in your Sprague multiplier. So we use last two things, last 10 lines to make calculations for these last two values in our age groups. Don't worry about what is the value of that age, because in the example data set in a handout, that is about 0 to 24. The given exercise have 0 to 79. Then you will have some different amount of data sets. But anyway, you should need to know how to calculate for the any range. So for the last two things, we use these two. So these value, the last value should be included for on behalf of G5. So if you see the handout, then you should include you should include 75 to 79 population value here. Then what is the amount? It is 303. And You can use 70 to 75 for here. The value is 440. And again G3. Then accordingly you can complete other columns also, because we need values for other columns also. But the first column is 0, so we don't need to include any value. But just to practice, you can include that value also. 65 to 69. That is 676. Then you can complete these two also. Then send me what is the age group you should take for the G2. Chat, put it in your chat box. What is the age group for G2? And forget about the age group. Mention the total population total for that group. What is the value you should use for G2? Put answers in the chat box. Yes, exactly correct. Age group is 60 to 64. And yeah, I received one wrong answer. I asked about a G2. So the age group is 60 to 64. Then what is the value? What is the population value? Yeah, 981. Okay, then what's the value for G1? What's the population value for G1? Now I am asking about this one. So that should be in the high order. Then that should be in the ascending order. Age groups are in ascending order in the table. So now what we are going to do? Now we are going, yes, exactly correct. 1139. The age group is 55 to 59. It's okay. Then you need to take this in your mind. Now we are what we are now doing? We are calculating single year age distributions for the last two groups, last two 5-year age cohort in our data set. Then we use this phrase for the calculation of first to 5-year age cohort in our data set, which we have on our hand. Then this phrase, we are using the middle part of a Sprague multiplier table for other all cases. So now you can simplify the calculations for the last two groups, I mean from 70 to 79. Then what you should do, forget about the other things, you can use this. I will use my height. You can use this part, last two cohorts, otherwise last 10 rows, and you can do the multiplication. You can multiply these each value by the head values, I mean the 5-year age cohort values, and you can have your answers. Okay, let's start. You should complete this table. So these 10 lines are representing this last 10 rows in your Sprague multiplier table. Then you can multiply those each value by using these value. We have identified what are these values, and you can complete this middle part of the table. And finally, you can take the raw totals. Then those will represent single year age distribution from 70 to 79. Okay, let's go forward. If you have any question, you can ask. I received answers from one student, so he or she has completed it well. Then I'll wait for one more student and I will start to explain the next phrase. Okay, then now you know how to do calculations for the first two age cohort and last two age cohort. For the middle cases, you need to use the middle part of our Sprague multiplier, that is this one. So if I show it in the presentation, this phrase, I will use red highlighter. So you can use this phrase for other all cases except the first two age cohort and last two age cohort. You can use this one. So the age should come into here. You need to use for G3. G3 age group is the age group you can have single year age value. So as an example, by using this illustration, you can find single year with distribution for the 65-69 age group. Okay, then you know what are the values in G2, G3, G4, G5 in that case. By simplifying this one, you can calculate values for 65 to 69 age group. Okay, let's do it. Find single year age values for 65 to 69 age group. Hurry up. Then send me your answers into chat box. explain. It seems that most of you are not actively participate for the lecture. Anyway, I will complete the lesson. I hope to give one question from this part for the exam. So you may try to understand what I have taught you using these recorded lectures. So what I told you to calculate ages for the 65 to 69 age group. So the values will come as 1139. These are the values we used for the previous case. Then we need to multiply these values by using our Sprague value. So you can complete the other all. Then I think now you know how to simplify these things. It doesn't matter. Anyway, we'll check your answers next day. Then I need to one more thing to you to calculate. Suppose about all things to calculate the single year age distribution for these all cases, you need to include the considering age group into G3. Under only the G3, if you have used these all age groups under the G3, you can find single year age distribution for these all one. So other columns you can arrange according to the ascending age order. Then you can complete this one. So you can practice these all leisurely at home. Then if you had any question, you can ask it in next day. Otherwise, you have to answer for the exam questions. Okay, I will stop lecture from here. Have a nice day for you all.